Everyone, this is Evangelist August Rosado with Today in Bible Prophecy Ministries. We want to thank you so much for tuning in on this Thursday afternoon. And of course, we are coming to you live from our main headquarters here in Lincoln, Rhode Island. And it is good to have you with us today on this very special broadcast, because today begins the feast of Purim or Purim. And that begins at sundown this evening at around 6:30 or so. And it will run sundown to sundown from 6:30 this evening, Thursday, all the way up until Friday, 6:30 p.m., just as the Shabbat will take place on tomorrow night. Just trying to get a few things adjusted over here. Just bear with me. And so we are excited about today's broadcast, because I am going to share with you today the origin of the Feast of Purim or Purim, how it developed, what was the source that got the ball rolling in the development of this Jewish holiday that we call Purim. When I was out yesterday, I stopped by a Jewish home to drop off something, and just as I was going into my car, an elderly man and his wife came out, and he had a yarmulke on. This was in Sharon, Massachusetts. Sharon has the largest Jewish population. And they came out. I noticed the yarmulke or the kippah on his head. And I opened up my car door and I said to them, Chag Sameach. Now, Chag Sameach is happy holidays in Hebrew, because today is Purim. And he looked at me and he said, with this bewildered, surprised look on his face, with a half a smile, he looked back at me and he said, Chag Sameach. And then him and his wife are staring at me, because here you have this stranger rolling up to their house to drop off something for them, and this stranger wishes them in Hebrew, Chag Sameach. And they probably went back inside and was like, wow, they were just taken back by that. And, Jewish people are, they're really, I guess you would say, blessed when a stranger, especially someone not of their religion, would wish them Chag Sameach, or familiar with Jewish customs and practices and holidays. It's a great way to start a witnessing opportunity. And so, nonetheless, today at sundown, 6:30 or so, begins Purim. So, for all of you that are watching, I want to wish all of you today Chag Sameach Purim. Happy holiday. It is Purim. And I'm going to show you what book in the Bible talks about this specific holiday by name. And I'm going to show you that in this particular book of the Bible, one name is absent. It's a very big name, a huge name that's absent in this book, and how this particular book was not found among the Dead Sea Scrolls. All the books of the Bible and the Dead Sea Scrolls were found except this one particular book. And show you how the Jewish people today in the synagogues, the shul, how they celebrate this holiday, which really is not a feast, wasn't part of the 7 feasts of Leviticus 23. So that's the reason why I named my program today Purim, the Prince, and Prophecy. 3 P's, alliteration there. Because what the ancient individuals tried to do was to eliminate the Jewish people. And their modern descendants today want to pick up where their ancestors left off. So, hold on to your seats. Have your Bibles ready. Write down some notes. Because we're going to talk about Purim, the prince, and prophecy. So I'm excited. I've been to Israel 27 times. And I've been in Israel for Purim. And I even got involved in a dance festival with a bunch of Jewish people, a bunch of Israelis, all dressed up for this festivities. So, we'll talk about Purim, and I'll tell you where to turn in the Bible in just a few moments. Don't forget, if you don't receive my newsletters, then you need to sign up for them, because they go out every single week, okay? You can do that by sending me your email address to my Facebook Messenger and say, August, I want to receive your newsletters. Or send me an email, august.todayinbibleprophecy@gmail.com. Or go to my website, todayinbibleprophecy.org. Go to the Contact August Rosado form link. Give me your name, your email address, and request you want to receive the newsletters. If you're a pastor and you would like to invite me to come to your church to talk about Israel, Bible prophecy, and current events, then I would love to come. Show a PowerPoint presentation as to how close we may be to Jesus' soon return. What do? I always base my messages on what is going on in the world. So I take a geopolitical activity and then I give a prophetic perspective on it. I go to the Bible first and then I look at what's going on in the world. I don't go to the world first and then go and look at the Bible. The world did not predict what the Bible would say. It's the Bible that predicted what's going on in the world right now. But I do look at the geopolitical activities of the world, and then I give a prophetic perspective from a plain sense interpretation of Bible prophecy. So that's what we do, and that's what I bring to your church. And again, I know I sound repetitious like I do with every broadcast, but I always like to make this abundantly clear. Okay? I do not dramatize. I do not sensationalize. I do not play guess the name of the Antichrist game. I don't play let's set a date for the rapture. I don't play that president's the Antichrist. This prime minister is the false prophet. We don't play these games. I don't endorse prophecy conspiracies or YouTube eschatology. Okay? I just give the plain sense interpretation of Bible prophecy. That's it. The last thing I want to do is to try to think outside the box and come up with something new to make a name for myself. And you got a lot of prophecy guys out there today that are abusing Bible prophecy, and they're doing exactly that. You got people today claiming the vaccine is the mark of the beast. You got people claiming we're in the tribulation period right now. You got people claiming they know who the Antichrist is. I'll tell you this. If you find out who the Antichrist is and you're 100% spot on, you've been left behind at the rapture. That's the only way someone's going to know who the Antichrist is. You've been left behind. So we don't play these type of games. I don't play those type of games. Because as Dr. David Reagan said, Bible prophecy is an abused subject in the church today. It's lost its credibility. It's lost its reputation because of irresponsible prophecy teachers. and I don't roll with them, and I don't have anything to do with them. And that's the reason why you keep coming back Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, because you appreciate the plain sense teaching that we bring to you here at Today in Bible Prophecy Ministries. And if you're here for the first time today, you'll see what we're talking about. So let me just say hello to Artemio Cruz, a dear friend of this ministry. Amanda Tatro, another friend of this ministry. And she said, I bet Haman wished he did try killing God's people and Esther was smart. Yeah, pretty much. Stephen Mitch Smith, good to see you. I'm hoping your electricity's back on, Stephen. You've been without it for a while now. Steve hails from Mississippi. Todd Baker, I just was on the phone with him a few moments ago. Great to have him here with us. Robbie Lincoln, Greta Sims Emery, another dear friend of this ministry. All of you are friends of this ministry, and many of you have supported this ministry, and you just recently sent support, and you know who you are. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you so much for standing with us and consistently supporting our ministry. Thank you. Thank you so much for being with us and for helping us to continue to do what we're doing. I got to say, folks, my speaking schedule is picking up. My speaking schedule is heating up. I just posted my speaking schedule on my Facebook page. So you can click that on, and I just added more churches to my speaking schedule. So as the COVID situation is loosening up a little bit, churches are calling me and they're booking me for multi-day conferences. So go to my Facebook timeline, click on, if you have to scroll down, click on August Rosado speaking schedule and see if I might be at a church near you. And if I am, come on out and say hello. I'd love to meet you, especially all of you that have been following us for a while now. Lori Allen Perkins is with us today. Lori, good to have you with us. Many of you know Lori is the winner of our contest, as she's going to receive a new book, my brand new book, Daniel, A Chronology, in which I look at the book of Daniel chronologically. And I show you how to read the book of Daniel chronologically. And the book serves as a commentary. And I know this book will be a blessing to you. And of course, Todd Baker, who you see here today, was kind enough to forward my book. And you know, everyone's like, oh, you misspelled the word forward. There should be an E in there. Correction, adding an E is a misspelling of the word forward. I've talked with quite a few people right now. And most of them that I know are some of them are school teachers that said adding an E in there is a misspelling of the word, even though you could use it if you wanted to. So, you know, you get this nonsense, oh, brother, the word forward's misspelled. No, it isn't. It's not misspelled. But we are going to do some corrections after we go through this whole first batch of books that should be coming in at the end of this month. What we did not add was a table of contents. So I'm going to add that after we sell these books. And so that's the only change we're going to make with the book, okay? Table of contents wasn't listed. But you don't need it. Even though I will add it down the road, you really don't need it because you're going to go through the book of Daniel chronologically as you read the book. And so I know this book will be a blessing to you. I have gotten so many pre-orders for this book. I got a litany of names of people that have already ordered the book. Pre-ordered. So, in addition to Lori Allen Perkins receiving her free book, since she's the winner of our contest, many of you that are pre-ordered, you're going to get your books. They will be autographed. Okay? They will be autographed. And we will make sure that we get a book out to you. So if you want to pre-order, you can do it one of two ways. Go to my website, todayinbibleprophecy.org. Go to the top navigation bar, click on bookstore, and then you'll see the book right there. Click on the book or click that link on. It's $18 plus $3 shipping and handling. Or you can mail your order to Today in Bible Prophecy Ministries, care of August Rosado, 143 Grove Street, Grove, E. V is in Victor, E is in Eddie. 143 Grove Street, Lincoln, Rhode Island, 02865. And once I get your order, we're going to make sure your book goes out to you. Autographed by me. I am excited about this book. And I cannot wait to get it into your hands. In terms of Israel, now is Christine, are you with us right now, Christine? Let me see. Yes, you are. I talked with my tour agent on the phone yesterday. And, you know, right now Israel is trying to make plans to open the economy and open the country back up to tourism. The vaccine rollouts have been going out and so on and so forth. It seems to me that if Israel's going to let anybody into their country, you're going to have to show proof of vaccination. Don't quote me on that now, but that's the talk I've been hearing over there. They could change that. I don't know. But, Sunastasi, did you order the brand new book, Daniel, a Chronology? If so, those books have not come in yet. They should be coming in by the end of February or the first week of March. So is that the book you ordered, Sue? Daniel, a Chronology? If so, they haven't come in yet. Okay, let me get back to this here. We don't know what the government of the state of Israel is going to be requiring. So, if they say vaccine, well, that, as one pastor told me, that could be a deal breaker. Because I know that there are some people who don't want to get vaccinated. And that's fine. I respect that. But there are people who do want to get vaccinated, and I respect that as well. Nobody should be condemned whether they want to get vaccinated or not. So I don't tolerate that nonsense. But if you don't want to get vaccinated, you might not get let into the country. You might not be let in at all. Okay? Just saying that up front. If you are vaccinated, you show the proof of the vaccination, they'll let you into the country. But again, I don't know how the state of Israel is going to, approach that. But if you want to go with me this year, and I'm hoping it might be late spring, maybe midsummer, I don't know. We're keeping a close tabs on how the state of Israel is, working this out. Might not even be till the fall. I don't know. I'd like to go earlier, believe me when I tell you that. But it might not be until summer or the fall. In either case, we're going to Israel this year. And I still have about 26, 27 people. Christine Mershwell's one of them coming with us. So, if you want to come to Israel with me this year, I think you should make those preparations. And join us on a Bible prophecy tour of the Holy Land. We will visit Israel and Jordan. We will be in North Jordan at Mount Nebo, where Moses viewed the Promised Land, looking down at the Jordan Valley, the Dead Sea, and we'll drive south to Petra. And so, if you've never been to Israel, I think you need to go. Come with us. Let me teach you Bible prophecy on location. So, if you want more information about that and you want to go, get a hold of me. as soon as possible. And so if you're a pastor and you want me to come to your church to talk about Bible prophecy, give us a holler. I can't believe how my phone's been ringing off the hook, and it looks like we're going to be getting back on the road, preaching at churches all over the country. I was just booked by 2 churches in Kentucky that want me for a multi-day Bible prophecy conference. One of them being a supporting church. And so that's exciting. Next month, my wife and I will be in Delaware. I've never been to the state of Delaware, but I will be in Delaware for a 2-day Bible prophecy conference. All of this is going to be live streamed. So I'm excited that my speaking schedule is picking up, and we're going to be heading back on the road. Christine says that she's been watching the rollouts of the vaccines there in Canada. So the vaccinations are rolling out. I'm hearing that by June, July, most of the United States would have been vaccinated. And I think that's what the state of Israel is looking at right now. Once they see the majority of Americans have been vaccinated, then I see the government of the state of Israel opening up the country. And I see us back in the Holy Land. And I want you to come to Israel with us. On another note, my wife and I are in the process of looking for another church. And I'm not saying right now, I'm not rushing to go anywhere. Okay, even though I'm on the road a lot speaking. But my wife and I are in the process of looking for another church and praying that God directs us to where he would like us to be. Now, I'm hoping to go somewhere a little bit closer. But I did resign the church I've been a member of for the past 2 years, and now we're looking for a new church. So please pray that the Lord would open the doors for us to find a new church somewhere closer to home where we are in Lincoln. So please keep that in prayer. And so Michael Popes is in the house. Michael, good to see you, brother. And I am so glad you're here. Again, to all of you, Chag Sameach. It is Purim that begins at sundown tonight, going into sundown Friday evening. So, Chag Sameach, that's Hebrew for happy holidays. Chag Purim Sameach. Happy Purim holidays. So, I said what I had to say. Now, let's get into our message. So what I want you to do right now, go with me to the book of, you guessed it, Esther. Esther. And let's look at Esther chapter number 9, beginning at verse 26. Esther chapter 9, verse 26. Wherefore, they call these days Purim, after the name of Pur. Therefore all the words of this letter, and of that which they had seen concerning this matter, and which had come unto them. Then the last sentence of verse 28 says this, and that these days of Purim should not fail among the Jews, nor the memorial of them that perish from their seed. The last sentence of verse 29. And Mordecai the Jew wrote with all authority to confirm the second letter of Purim. The first part of verse 31. To confirm these days of Purim and their times, Moed in Hebrew, appointed. Verse 32. And the decree of Esther confirmed these matters of Purim, as it was written in the book. We know that anti-Semitism led to the development of this holiday, described in the book of Esther as Purim. Now, the word Lot, L-O-T, comes from Pur, P-U-R, and Lots, plural, from Purim. In Hebrew, when you add an I-M at the end of a word, it pluralizes that word. So Pur, P-U-R, is singular. Lot, L-O-T. Purim, P-U-R-I-M, is lots, L-O-T-S, plural. What were they trying to do? Cast lots in the provinces of Shushan in Persia to hang every single Jew. It has been said, and I know you've heard this before, that when something bad happens to the Jews, they make a holiday out of it. Purim would be that holiday that commemorates the Jews' deliverance from the gallows, the deliverance from death. Anti-Semitism was rife within the Persian Empire at this time. And if all the think about this, if all the Jews of Persia would have been wiped out, there would not have been Jesus the Messiah. If they would have all been wiped out, the messianic bloodline would have been wiped out, and Satan would have accomplished his goal of severing the messianic bloodline and thwart the promises of Genesis chapter 3 and verse number 15. Praise the Lord, he failed. The events of Esther take place on the 14th of Adar, A-D-A-R. Adar is the Jewish month corresponding to February and March. And the events that take place in the book of Esther happened 2,500 years ago. The book explains the origin of the festival of Purim. Like Hanukkah, that happens in December, corresponding with Christmas, Purim is considered an extra biblical holiday and not part of the 7 feasts of Israel in Leviticus chapter number 23. The Jews were delivered from a prince who wanted to exterminate all the Jews in Shushan. He wanted to eliminate all the Jews in all the provinces of Persia. And if he would have gotten his way, there would have been no Jesus. Anti-Semitism has been around from time immemorial, going back to when Pharaoh in the book of Exodus wanted to eliminate the Jews, to Haman in the book of Esther, who wanted to hang every single Jew in the book of Esther throughout the whole entire province of Persia. Today, we have anti-Semitism rearing its ugly head among the nations of the world, even here in the United States of America, with attacks on Jews worldwide. There's been a litany of attacks on Jews in New York City. Man, New York is ungodly. And unfortunately, listen to me now, unfortunately, anti-Semitism, anti-Semitic attitudes have reared its ugly head even in the church. The book of Esther covers 10 chapters during the reign of King Ahasuerus. Now, King Ahasuerus also went by another name. He was also known as the Persian king Xerxes. The two heroes of the book of Esther is a young Jewish maiden by the name of Esther. Her cousin's name was Mordecai, who brought her up as if she was his own daughter. We see this in Esther chapter 2, verses 5 through 7. They were both taken during the Babylonian captivity in 586 BC. Doesn't say anything about what happened to Esther's parents. It just says Mordecai brought her up in place of her parents. And later, Esther and Mordecai were transferred to Persia with the fall of the Babylonian Empire in 539 BC. We see in chapter number 1 the events unfold. The current queen, Vashti, refuses to obey King Xerxes' command, and she is immediately removed from being queen. Then, in Esther chapter 2, the search is on. Who would replace Vashti? In verse 17, after showing off all the maidens in Persia, the king sees Esther, and he falls madly in love with her. This Gentile king falls in love with this Jewish maiden, and she is made queen. Esther goes by another name in the book. Her other name is, do you know who? Do you know who it is? Hadassah. In Esther chapter 2 and verse number 7. In Jerusalem, today there is a hospital called Hadassah Hospital. Hadassah is another name for Esther. Mordecai one day is sitting near the gate of the king. He overhears a plot to kill King Ahasuerus, and he tells it to the new queen Esther. She goes to the king and tells him of the plot that Mordecai heard. And the king hangs both the conspirators in Esther chapter 2, verses 21 through 23. And the king will never forget what Mordecai did, even though it seems to show that he did forget, and he was later on he was reminded. Oh yeah, that's right. He unveiled a plot to assassinate me. But the trouble begins in Esther chapter number 3, when the king has a lapse of judgment and promoted a wicked, godless man named Haman. Haman is the son of Hammedatha, and Haman is an Agagite. Now, he is put as second in command under Xerxes, second in command of the kingdom of Persia. Mind you, Haman is called an Agagite. Now that's very important, because Haman comes from a bloodline of a people who tried to kill the Jews, going all the way back to the book of Exodus. Exodus chapter 17, to be exact. In Genesis chapter 36, verses 1, 8, and 9, Esau is the father of the Edomites. Esau is Edom. That's why I take my tour groups to southern Jordan, to Petra, because that's where the Edomites dwelled. It was the impregnable city. They thought it was invincible and nobody could conquer them. But God said in the book of Obadiah, I'll bring you down. in verses 3 and 4. And that's exactly what happened when the Nabateans of Arabia came in and killed the Edomites, destroyed their kingdom. But in Genesis chapter 36 and verse number 12, Esau's grandson, very wicked individual, his name is Amalek. He is born in Genesis 36:12 and would become the father of the Amalekites. And when you look at Exodus chapter number 17, we see the Amalekites at war with Israel, trying to exterminate the Jewish people, wouldn't let them pass through their land on the way to the land of milk and honey. But when we get to 1 Samuel chapter 15, the Jewish prophet Samuel kills a man by the name of Agag. Now, Agag was called the Amalekite, which means he was a descendant of Amalek, who was the grandson of Esau. Samuel kills Agag, cuts him up in little bite-sized pieces, because it was Agag and the Amalekites who killed God's people, the Jews. And then when we get to Esther chapter number 3, it says Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite. That means he was a descendant of who? Agag. And 1 Samuel 15, who was a descendant of who? Amalek, father of the Amalekites, who was the grandson of who? Esau, the father of the Edomites. Agag, Haman, they all come from the Edomite family tree. Haman had a descendant in the New Testament who was called Herod the Great. Herod was an Edomite. His father's name was Antipater, who was at one time king of Edom. And what did Herod the Great want to do? He wanted to kill every male Jewish infant from 2 years and younger, hoping to kill the king of the Jews. Haman, Herod the Great. And by the way, the Edomites have modern day descendants today who are trying to kill the Jews and steal their land. Who am I talking about? The people who call themselves Palestinians. Palestinians are the modern day Edomites today, looking to do the same thing based on Ezekiel chapter number 35, to steal the land, kill the Jews, and to shed their blood. Ezekiel 35 is clear. It's unambiguous about this. They want to steal the land and kill the Jewish people. In Esther chapter 3, verses 4 through 6, Mordecai refuses to bow to Haman. Now that he's been promoted as second in command of Persia, well, if I walk by you, you better bow down to me. The Nazis wanted the Jews to do the same thing during World War II. Jews were branded with Star of Davids on them to distinguish them from the Gentile population. And whenever a Jew would walk by a Nazi, they had to bow down to them. And if not, they would have been shot right on the spot. Haman wanted every Jew to bow down to him. Mordecai refused to do that. And Haman went livid. Why? As a Jew, Mordecai knows all too well Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 4. Shema Israel Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. That's written on my wedding band in Hebrew. Shema Israel. Hear, O Israel. Mordecai refuses to bow to Haman. He becomes livid. And the quest for the final solution is on in Persia. In verse number 7 of Esther chapter 3, they cast Pur, P-U-R. they cast the lot to exterminate the Jews. And yet we read in Esther chapter 3, verses 10 and 13, it says this, and the king took his ring from his hand, and he gave it to Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite. He's a descendant of Agag, 1 Samuel 15, the Jews' enemy. And in verse 13, and the letters were sent by post into all the king's provinces to destroy, to kill, and to cause to perish all Jews, both young and old, little children, women, in one day, even upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar, to take a spoil of them. For, I pray, again, the month Adar, February, March. Because I think Haman knew what happened to his ancestors back in the book of 1 Samuel 15. It was your Jewish prophet Samuel who killed my people, killed Agag, a descendant of Amalek, father of the Amalekites. And now I'm going to pay you back and kill all of your people, all of your wives, and all of your children. In chapter number 4, the Jews are now fasted because the ball is in motion to exterminate the Jews in Persia. All the Jews are fasted, and Esther the queen intercedes on behalf of her people. She knew she would become queen for a reason. She knew there was a reason. And that reason is given in Esther chapter 4, verse number 14. And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this? So there was a reason she became queen. In Esther chapter 5, Esther needed to build up the courage to come before the king. Listen, back then you couldn't just appear before the king, because if you did and he did not extend his scepter toward you, it would cost you your life. Even if you were his wife, even if you were the queen, if you stood before him and he did not extend the scepter to you, you're done, man. If you appeared before the king, and if he was in a bad mood, and he decided not to extend the scepter, that's it, man, you're dead. But in Esther chapter 5 and verse number 3, the king held out his scepter toward Esther. She advances toward him. She tells the king of Haman's plot. And she says, I want to throw a banquet to expose what Haman is trying to do. He thinks I'm going to throw this banquet in his honor. So now Esther sets the ball in motion to expose this wicked Haman. In chapter 6, Esther reminds the king of what Mordecai did for him back in chapter number 2. King, you remember? It was my cousin who exposed that plot to assassinate you. It was my cousin Mordecai who overheard these two guys plotting to kill you. And if it wasn't for my cousin, King, you would be dead today. So, at the banquet, the king forces Haman. Here, Haman shows up to the banquet thinking, this is all in honor for me. This is all about me. Now, with this banquet in my honor, I'm going to hang every single Jew, starting with Mordecai, who refused to bow down to me. So at the banquet, Haman thought he was going to get the royal treatment, but instead, the tables are turned. And the king tells Haman, I want you to honor Mordecai. And I want you to clothe him with the best of royal clothing that you can find. I could just imagine the look on Haman's face. So Haman, you honor Mordecai, and you honor the Jewish people that you hate and you are conspiring to kill. Then when we get to chapter 7, Esther tells the king that it's Haman that's responsible for plotting the ethnic cleansing of the Jewish people. Woo. King was livid. The king orders that Haman be hanged on the same gallows that he constructed to hang every single Jew in the province of Persia. And then in chapter 8, Mordecai is advanced into the position that the late Haman held. And the king even gave Mordecai Haman's house. Woo! Talk about turning the tables. Talk about a plan backfiring. Haman thought, because I'm second in command, I'm going to exterminate all the Jews. I'm going to get payback for what the Jews did to my ancestors, to what they did to Agag, the Amalekite, what they did to Amalek. In chapter number 17 in the book of Exodus, it's payback time. I got the authority to do so. I got the king's signet of his ring to carry out this mass extermination. And instead, backfired, and Haman and all of his followers were hung on the very same gallows. And then the king gives authority to the Jews to defend themselves against their enemies. And then in chapter number 9, the Jews kill those who sought to kill them. Even the 10 sons of Haman were hung on the very same gallows their father constructed to hang every single Jew. In chapter 9, we see the birth of the Festival of Purim. Then in chapter number 10, we see the name of Mordecai going down in history as a defender of his people, his flesh and blood, his brethren, the Jewish people. Because again, I reiterate, and it's important that I do reiterate, if Haman would have gotten his way, there would have been no Jesus the Messiah. There would not have been the Lord Jesus. The messianic bloodline would have been severed, and the promises of Genesis 3:15 would have not come to pass, would have not been fulfilled. Now, I told you that there's a big name that's absent in the book of Esther. And you will notice as you read all 10 chapters of this book, the name of God is absent in the book of Esther. Does not appear anywhere in the book. It was one of the books of the Bible that were not found among the Dead Sea Scrolls in the caves at Qumran near the Dead Sea in 1947. And this book is read in the synagogue as the Megillah. Megillah is Hebrew for scroll, or scrolls, Megillot. And again, even if you add an old T at the end of a word in Hebrew, it would also pluralize that word like I am would pluralize a word. So Megillah, scroll. Scrolls, plural, is Megillot. So they would read the Megillah, the scroll of Esther, for Purim in the synagogues. Jews in Israel dress in costumes. That's why I call it the Jewish Halloween. They dress in costumes, and in the synagogue service, they cheer the name of Esther and Mordecai as the heroes of the book. So whenever the rabbi reading from the Megillah would mention the name of Esther and Mordecai, it would erupt in a bunch of cheers, clapping of hands. Yeah, the heroes. The heroes of the book. But whenever the rabbi would mention the name of Haman, his name would be drowned out by a chorus of boos and making loud noises by stamping their feet, using instruments that make loud noises to blot out the name of Haman. Why? He's the villain of the book. And also, at Purim, they eat a pastry called hamantashen. I've been in Israel, Todd and I, and even my wife, during Purim, where they're all dressed up. They're giving out hamantashen. What's a hamantashen? It's a triangle-shaped dough with fruit filling. It could be strawberry or blueberry or whatever, shaped like a hat. The hat they believe that Haman would have probably worn. Purim shows the deliverance of the Jews by the hand of God, whose name doesn't appear anywhere in the book. But obviously you can see the sovereign hand of God moving on behalf of the Jewish people. Today, the traditional tombs of Esther and Mordecai are in a place called Hamadan, named after Haman, ironically, Hamadan, Iran. Because Persia is today, modern day, Iran. Recently, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu issued a Purim warning to Iran that Israel will not permit Iran to arm itself with nuclear weapons to fulfill the often repeated goal of destroying Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu went on to say, and I quote, "On the eve of the Festival of Purim, I would like to say to those who seek our lives, Iran and its proxies in the Middle East, 2,500 years ago, another Persian villain, Haman, tried to destroy the Jewish people. And just as he failed then, you too will fail today." End quote. That was from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to Iran. Today, modern day Persia is Iran. And they have a goal to carry out what their ancestor Haman tried to do 2,500 years ago, destroy the Jewish people. Iran calls for the elimination of the state of Israel on a daily basis. And yet, in Ezekiel chapter 38 and verse number 5, calls for Persia, modern day Iran, to invade Israel along with Russia, Turkey, Ethiopia, and Libya. And they will all be destroyed upon the mountains of Israel. In Daniel chapter 11 verse 44, describes an attack on Israel from the east, Iran, and the north, Russia and Turkey. Haman considered himself a prince who wanted worship from people that passed by him, who tried to destroy the Jewish people. And yet, according to Bible prophecy, in Daniel chapter 9 verse 26, describes another prince who will come from the people who destroyed the city and the sanctuary. Well, that was the Romans who destroyed Jerusalem and the temple in 70 AD. The Antichrist is the prince who comes from Roman ethnicity. He is a European, not a Muslim. The Jews will never trust their security to a Muslim. I don't care what the circumstances are. And for a Muslim to proclaim himself to be God would be rejected by the rest of the Muslim world. He comes from the people who destroyed Jerusalem in 70 AD. He is the beast in Revelation 13:1 out of the revived Roman Empire. He is the Antichrist who confirms a 7-year treaty with Israel. and then breaks that treaty at the midway point of the tribulation based on Daniel 9:27, Matthew 24:15, 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 3 and 4. And that prince, in the tribulation period, will attempt to annihilate the Jews based on Revelation chapter number 12. But at the end of the tribulation period, Jesus will return and he will destroy the beast and he will establish his kingdom from Jerusalem for 1,000 years. You see, folks, Purim reminds us that anti-Semitism is alive and well today. All over the world, the nations of the world, in America, and yes, even in the church. But it also reminds us, Purim reminds us, that Bible prophecy will be fulfilled. When the modern day Persians, the Iranians, who by the way still speak the Persian language, they call it Farsi, Farsi. When they make a move to eradicate the Jewish people, Bible prophecy will be on course to be fulfilled. And the prince that shall come will also demand worship, and the world will worship him. In Revelation 13, and verse 3, verse 4, and they worship the dragon who gave power unto the beast, and they worship the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast, who is able to make war against him. And he will seek to eliminate the Jewish people. But before all of that could happen, the rapture of the church will be the next main event on God's calendar of activity. All we can say to that is, Maranatha, even so come, Lord Jesus. Well, what a day, glorious day that is going to be. That is what Purim reminds us of. So again, I would want to say Chag Sameach to each and every one of you. Also, let me see if I missed anybody here. Todd Baker says Genesis 12:1-3 and the principle of reciprocity at work in Esther. Absolutely. Let's see here. Patty, of course, replying to Sue. She's talking about the Daniel chronology book there, which has not come in yet. And again, Artemio, thank you, brother, and Mrs. Rosado and family. God bless you. Appreciate that. Well, I hope you join us tomorrow, Friday, at, I would assume right now it's going to be 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For either 1 or 1:30, we'll see, I'll let you know, for another Bible prophecy update. And so I'll let you know tonight what our title will be for tomorrow's broadcast. Really mild day out here today. All that snow we got is almost gone. There's hardly any snow out there. It's mild. Weather's been getting up to like 50 degrees, a little bit higher than that. So we can appreciate that weather. Hey folks, spring is around the corner. Spring training baseball's in full swing, no pun intended. So the warmer weather is coming. So in closing, if you want to order my new book, Daniel, a Chronology, go to my website, todayinbibleprophecy.org. Click on that donate. You don't have to click on the link. Just go to the navigation bar above. Click on the store. You'll see the book right there. Click that on. $18 plus $3 shipping and handling. If you want to mail it, you can mail your order in. You can do that by mailing it to Today in Bible Prophecy Ministries, care of August Rosado, 143 Grove Street, Lincoln, Rhode Island, 02865. Again, if you're a pastor and you want me to come to your church to talk about Israel, Bible prophecy, and current events, let me know. I'd love to come. We got openings this year. They're making the phone calls. my speaking schedule is starting to pile up a little bit there. I want to fit you in for a day. And if you want to come to Israel with us, and I'm praying it's going to be this year, make those preparations. I just had a guy call me yesterday from New Hampshire. His brother was out. Do you still have, room on your trip this year? I want to go. And I said, well, yeah, absolutely. So I said, I can't give you a date right now, but we will take your information and your payment. But I can't give you a date right now until I know for sure when Israel's going to open those borders. And from how things are looking right now, probably might not be till the summer or maybe even early fall. So that's probably what we're looking at right now. And so, but if you want to come to Israel with us, now's the time to go. And let me teach you Bible prophecy on location where it's all going to unfold. And when it's all said and done after 11 days, you'll never read your Bible the same way again. And if you want to receive our newsletters, again, just send me your email address. Request you want to receive the newsletters. I'll make sure that we hook you up this week for our prophecy newsletters. All right, folks, that's all the time that I have today. So I hope to see you all tomorrow. And again, Chag Sameach. Happy Purim to each and every one of you. Hey, if there's a synagogue in your area and they're having a Purim festival, call them up and, ask what the restrictions are. And just say, I want to know more about Purim. I'd like to sit in on the festivities and see how it's an awesome service that they put on at the synagogues for Purim. It's really amazing. And so if you can, visit a synagogue and sit down as I read out of the Megillah, the book of Esther, how they're dressed up, the ham and tashin that they eat. Check it out. I think it'll really help you to better understand the events that happen here in the book of Esther. All right, hope to see you all tomorrow. And remember, keep looking up. Yeshua is coming soon. And Sha'alu Shalom Yerushalayim. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And we will see you, Lord willing, Friday afternoon. God bless, folks. Stay healthy, stay safe. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.